Alright guys, it's been a few weeks since we've talked about Warhammer, and particularly this Space Marine 2 game that is coming out very soon here. But before we get into that, a little refresher on the whole Warhammer Games Workshop controversy, all the calamities and catastrophes that have led up to this point. So you see this article from The Gamer, which is the most anti-gamer outlet that exists pretty much, other than Kotaku, I would say. The Gamer probably is worse. Talking about, the Warhammer Adeptus Custodes situation where Games Workshop decided to gaslight the fans and change the lore behind the Adeptus Custodes and say, oh no, there's always been female custodes, right? And then, of course, it's if you have a problem with it, you're a bigot or you're a misogynist, you're just an evil, toxic white male. So, that being said, this didn't set well with a lot of people, with a lot of the longtime fans of the franchise, a lot of people who spent thousands of dollars on their armies, on the lore books, all this stuff. And of course, even Warhammer 40k on the wiki, even the Games Workshop official site, the Twitter account has been blocking people, doubling down on this, making sure people realize that, oh no, this is the way things are moving forward and you're never allowed to question it again. And then we've even seen controversies and rumors about the, Warhammer 40k series on Amazon that is being ran by Henry Cavill. I believe it's also going to feature Henry Cavill, and of course there's been rumors about whether or not his involvement in the show is going to end over all of this controversy. And to be fair, I have no idea if there's any validity to this or not. I imagine it'd be really hard after what happened with The Witcher for Henry Cavill to walk away from another franchise that he loves. I mean, he freaking loves Warhammer more than he loves, I believe, The Witcher. And that's a lot, because The Witcher for him, that was a very hard situation where he had to walk away from a show that unfortunately was being made by people who absolutely hated the source material. So again, something that he didn't want to do, but he probably felt he had no choice and he had to end his connection to these people. So now this Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 game is something that has been a bit of a controversy for a while, and unfortunately for Focus Entertainment and Saber Interactive, the entire game leaked online, apparently. So this has been a bit of a weird situation, and unfortunately for Saber Interactive and Focus Entertainment, the game is out there in the wild. Now, apparently, it's not the complete game. It's not completely fixed as far as like all the bugs being removed and everything else. But this article from That Park Place says, as reported by Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming, a playable build for the game was leaked online and clocks in at 75 gigabytes in size. That's pretty much a complete game. I imagine that there is the entire game minus patches and hotfixes and bug fixes and all that other stuff. So it says, Henderson reports that the build originated on February 23rd, 2024, indicating that it is an almost completed version, but some issues are to be expected. Focus Entertainment and Saber Interactive responded to the leak with a statement on X. The companies posted, "We are deeply touched by the overwhelming support we've received from our community following the leak of an old build of our upcoming game, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. Our team has been our teams have poured years of hard work, passion, and dedication into creating a game worthy of your hopes and expectations, and it's disheartening that many of the surprises we worked to keep secret were spoiled. We're saddened that this build, which will be almost a year old by the time we launch, is how some of our most eager fans will experience Space Marine 2. Well, I don't think that you necessarily have to apologize for it, because the reality is anybody who doesn't want the game spoiled for them or who wants to play the proper version of the game isn't going to go looking for this. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I'd have to start a Google search of how do I find this version of this game. They continued, our unwavering commitment has been to deliver the best possible game for our players. This was the driving force behind our decision to spend more time on development and ensure we deliver the best experience we can. Next, they said, we're asking everyone to avoid this unfinished build. And see, that's the trick right there, just avoid it. Don't go near it. And to not spoil the game for those excited to experience it for the first time at launch. Space Marine 2 will release on September 9th, and the best way to support our team's hard work is to play the game as they've always intended. See you all in a few weeks, I assume he meant, for the Emperor. So, the leak comes after Saber Interactive and Focus Entertainment canceled a public beta test. Now, this is the crazy thing. They canceled a public beta test for this game after they'd already seen gameplay footage back in 2023, back in August, showing that the game apparently was still really rough and needed a lot of work. So this has been an ongoing thing for this game. I'm not hoping this game fails. I'm not hoping it sucks. I'm not hoping that it's like, oh, it's woke trash, just get rid of it. I hope it's some terrible, awful abomination of a game. But it's not looking super positive, unfortunately, given the fact that they canceled the beta, after last year's report that the game was just not looking good, that it was just unplayable, buggy, rough, whatever you want to call it. But now the latest controversy, which is really weird because it's not coming from people who are, I would say, the traditional pro-Warhammer audience. It's from the activists. So we have this report on Substack from Fandom Pulse saying that a pro-Ukraine activists are trying to cancel Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 over Russian involvement as the full video game leaks to the internet. You heard that right. So apparently it's due to the fact that there is a Russian developer working on the game. So you see the article here from Fandom Pulse says there was supposed to be an open beta test for the game, but that was also canceled so that developers could focus on what needed to get done. Now, just 2 months before the game is supposed to be released, the entirety of the game leaked online. Focus Entertainment put out this statement. We already read that. But it says, but others are actively trying to cancel Space Marine 2. In response to the X thread, pro-Ukrainian activists have flooded the replies to attack Focus Entertainment. You have this one quote here from one Twitter user saying, "Explain what the hell is this man doing in your team? Are you supporting his hate speech or what?" And then they shared several screenshots of a Russian programmer involved with the game, including one where he allegedly said Ukraine is part of Russia. As if that in and of itself is a reason to cancel Space Marine 2. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of controversies, a lot of conflicts going on around the world. Russia, Ukraine, Palestine, Israel, Gaza, the entire mess I don't want to get into because that's personally, it's not my problem. It's political nightmarish hell to have to get into that. But the reality is, just because somebody works as a developer in Russia, just because somebody who's a Russian developer or programmer has pro-Russian sentiment, I wouldn't expect anything different from a Ukrainian developer. Let's be honest. Both countries, both governments have really bad people in them, and both nations have a lot of really good people in them, I'm sure. A lot of people who don't want any conflict with anybody. So you can still make the argument that despite our government's actions, every nation probably has a large percentage of really decent people, regardless of your opinion on political situations and this nightmarish hellscape that we're living in here. Another user said, "You've got what you deserve for working with Russians from a terrorist state." A third concern trolled with, "Okay, but what about the controversy behind one of the developers and you guys canceling beta?" See, I think the canceling beta is a much bigger issue. It's a much bigger question mark in my personal opinion. I think that right there is a sign that, yes, while they don't want to put out a version of the game, much like where Concord just had their open beta and nobody's playing it, they don't want to put out a beta that's going to disappoint people. I get that. But the whole point of alpha and beta testing is to eliminate those bugs once and for all by having players play the game so that when you finally release the game, it's ready to go. I don't know that canceling the beta is the best look or the right way to go, but not my decision to make. And I just want to remind people, this whole Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 game has had controversy going on all the way back to 2022. Apparently one of the narrative lead writers on the game, if I'm not mistaken, is a person by the name of Ashley Cooper, who identifies as something other than the gender they were born, which is, again, not a deal breaker as far as a game goes. It doesn't mean just because somebody identifies as a different gender that you have to boycott a game or not play it, or that it's going to inherently be crap or it's going to be woke or whatever. The problem is we're seeing a trend where a lot of these people get into things like Warhammer, and they just have to change it and suit it to their image. And we've seen this with people like Ashley Cooper, who's gone on to try to boycott Hogwarts Legacy, saying, "If you're going to insist on playing the Wizard game, stop bending yourself into a pretzel trying to find a way to explain or justify doing so, and have the conviction to just say, transphobia is not a deal breaker for me." For anyone that thinks they're clever for mentioning that I own an iPhone, capitalism commonly backs us into a corner and forces us to choose between various bad options, but unlike me, needing a smartphone is some kind for work, no one needs a certain piece of entertainment. So this is the kind of person that they had working on their game. So again, does that mean that it's going to be awful, woke, garbage? No, that doesn't mean anything. But it is concerning. All the signs point to this game potentially being a nightmare on day one. I'm hoping it's not, because I hope that the Warhammer fans have good games to play. They have good stuff that they can actually enjoy. They've had it pretty rough recently, but I'm going to leave right there. I want you guys to make that decision for yourselves. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about all this. Make sure to check out my website. I'll bring it up right here, minimaleffort.shop. We've got news. We've got different links to my podcast channels. We've got links to all the videos as well as merch. So go check it out, and I will catch you guys on the next one. All right, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have two channels, Minimal Effort Podcast as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kickforma gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.